Sir, I hope this schedule did not clash with the other conference that you have in Bangalore.
No. Tomorrow it is.
Sir, we'll start in another 2 minutes, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Am I audible? Good morning, everyone.
Gayatri, we'll just wait
Yes,
for
sir.
2 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. And request you to start the workshop.
Thank you so much, sir. Good morning, everyone. Very warm welcome to the second conclave of the second edition of Professor V.S. Mallar Memorial Legal Aid Competition organized by CEERA in association with the Department of Justice. It's really great to see you all again. We are really thrilled to see the lawyers of tomorrow taking great interest in furthering the cause of legal aid by participating in this competition. To guide and motivate you even more in this direction, we have a set of brilliant speakers who will be talking on legal aid for legal practice. Before we start with the technical session, I request all of you to hold your questions till the Q&A session. Our team is ready to brief you once again on competition guidelines and clear all of your doubts. On behalf of Team CEERA, I invite one of our mentors, Professor Ashok Patil, Vice Chancellor of National University of Study and Research in Law, Ranchi. Prior to this, he held the position of Chair on Consumer Law and Practice in National Law School of India, Bangalore. He has been an active academician and he has worked as a professor of law since 2008. Dr. Patil completed his doctoral thesis in consumer protection laws from Karnataka University. He is the founder director of the Online Consumer Mediation Center under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs. The advocacy and awareness work Professor has done in the field of consumer law is invaluable, and we are really grateful to have you here to begin the second conclave of the legal aid competition. Welcome to the conclave, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is it audible? Okay. So at the outset, my sincere thanks to the organizers, especially CEERA, one of the very active center in National Law School of India University is CEERA Center under the leadership of Professor Sairam and his team, who have seen, everybody knows that, so every month one or the other program they organize for all variety of programs they conduct. And that is the object of the National Law School and dream of our founder director, Professor Madhav Menon. And also always Professor Madhav Menon used to say, it's not a legal education, it's a justice education. He has not called as always legal education. No, justice education. Law students are here along with the law study. They have to give justice to the needy people of the society. So always he used to say. And this particular program is again another very important for me because it's a second edition of Professor V.S. Mallar Legal Aid Competition 2023. All of us including Sairam, myself, worked together with Professor Mallar. He is one of the legend in legal education for whole India. And always Professor Mallar worked, he is a very simple man, great intellectual teacher. Always he enjoyed teaching. And he is an all-rounder, we can say. And especially when he interact with the juniors like us and Sairam, he comes down to our age and he used to discuss a lot of things with us. And always we used to discuss his college time in Bombay as well as Goa. So whatever he has done, he used to share with us. So that is the greatness of Professor Mallar. And even not only in teaching, even as an institution, how to run the institution, we have learned from him. Whenever we used to go along with him, if he saw a classroom, no student is there, but AC is on, lights are on, he used to go and switch off those things. So we learned a lot of good things from the Professor Mallar. So in his name, this particular competition gets a great value because he lived like that. So that is the very important thing here. And another thing is the CEERA and even jointly in association with Ministry of Justice, Government of India, one of the very active former Joint Secretary Raghavendra, always he helped national law schools and whosoever doing hard work, always he encouraged and motivated. So the credit goes to Joint Secretary Raghavendra also in this regard. And coming back to the topic, already you have gone through the basics because you have participated. And just I wanted to give some little bit the basics. So as you know, 14th Law Commission Report 1958, on that basis, the section Article 39A, equal justice to and free legal aid. Then on that basis, even before that, Constitutional 42nd Amendment Act 1976, then the Legal Service Authorities Act 1987, Section 12, eligible people who can get a free legal aid. So all those things you have already gone through, and a lot of Supreme Court judgments are there. By name, some Husainra Khatun, was M.H. Waskut, Sheila Barse, Sukdas. These are some of the judgments which are discussing about the legal aid. Coming back to the main aim of the legislation, Legal Services Authorities Act 1987. So if you look into that legal beneficiary during the last 1 year, April 2022 to March 23, around 12 lakh 14,769 are the beneficiary. So as per the government statistics, it is giving a results. And NLSA, National Legal Service Authority, State Legal Service Authority, District Legal Service Authorities are also working hard to achieve the object of Legal Services Authority Act. And along with that, mainly the legal aid clinic in law schools are very, very important thing. And maybe in 2020 or 19, there were two national level discussion happened with NLSA, and even the executive chairman of the NLSA was there. Even Baba Gowda Patil was there in that meeting. So we discussed a lot of things at the national level, how we can institutionalize this legal aid in the curriculum of the law schools. So we proposed many things. We proposed that let it be a mandatory subject for the law course itself, so that every student will involve in that. And also some funding for these activities from NALSA or SALSA or DELSA. But ultimately, many things we propose, all the proposed things are not achieved, but some of the things positively came out from the NALSA. These are two things. One is we requested whosoever students are involving in legal aid activities during daytime, If their classes are missing, then mandatorily law school should give exemption, the attendance exemption for those classes. So it is in the order itself of the NALSA. Second one, if you are not giving the encouragement by giving a cash prize, then they are agreed to give the appreciation certificate from district legal service authority or state legal service authority or national legal service authority. See, these are the two things openly came out from that particular conference. So that can be adopted. That document is there. The NALSA sent to the SALSA, and SALSA issued those shared circular to all the law schools and law colleges. So that is the thing. And coming back, the live example, how we can make use of this. Object of legal aid is, one is help the needy people. Another selfish thing is for the student. Through this way, they are learning the skills of advocacy. So that is very, very important. I'm sharing you the live examples here. So here, when I was heading the legal service clinic in the National Law School in 2013, we went to the primary schools, high schools, awareness program, and whosoever comes to law school, we have heard their grievance and helped them. Along with that, even there are, in India, we have a very good welfare legislations, but when implementation comes, that is a challenge. So implementation in all the states is very weak, and state governments are also least bothered about implementation of these welfare legislation. So there, the students' role and institution role comes into picture. So we can concentrate on those areas, and we can help the needy people against fighting against the whosoever is wrongdoer, including the state government or any institution. So in that regard, in the teaching curriculum itself, whichever subject we are teaching, we have to connect those subjects to the society. Wherever possible, we can help. And here in National Law School, during that time, we filed a public interest litigation against the Karnataka state government in implementation of Consumer Protection Act in Karnataka state. And students themselves drafted the PIL. Before PIL, first they did a empirical research, collecting data from all the district consumer commissions of the state. And after all those data, prepared a final report. Everything is done by the student. I was only supervising. And that report, I took it and met the principal secretary of Consumer Ministry in Karnataka state. We discussed 1 hour, and at the end, outcome was, I'm busy in other important work. I cannot do immediately all these things. That was the last statement given by the officer. Then I came out and discussed with the students, what next? Ultimately, we have to implement this welfare legislation, because during that time, around 70% of the vacant posts were not filled, and pending cases were increasing. Then students decided, let us file a PIL, public interest litigation. Then they drafted, they took the guidance of the senior students, and ultimately they filed a PIL before Karnataka High Court. It came before the Chief Justice of Karnataka. And in first hearing, notices are issued to Chief Secretary of Government of Karnataka, Secretary to Ministry of Consumer Affairs. We made even the President of State Consumer Commission. So in second hearing itself, because it was well researched, report was there, update report was there, supportive documents were there, and High Court appreciated the students' work and issued an order in second hearing itself. The state government has to implement these whatever prayer was there within 6 months. Appointments, establishment of the district commissions in 3 districts. During that time, 3 new districts were established in Karnataka. No district commissions were there. So in second hearing itself, the Chief Justice of Karnataka issued order directing the state government to implement within 6 months. The same officer who said to me implemented within 6 months. That is the power of students community if they take it in this way. And also students filed a consumer cases also before district consumer commission and state commission. And another way of at the beginner, the first year, second year, students may not study the civil procedure code and evidence act, so they may not be comfortable to file a civil case before the civil court, but they are very competent to file a complaint before the district consumer commission, because in district consumer commission, no civil procedure code is applicable, evidence act is not applicable. It is enacted to help the layman. Layman should come personally and argue his matter, and here is the system which is helping to the layman. Layman is you are the law student. Better than layman, you can file a complaint, you can argue the case personally. This way you will learn these professional skills during these 5 years. So that help you. Once you complete your 5 years, you are capable of handling the cases independently, and you get a confidence that yes, I'm having all the professional skills one the advocate must have during these 5 years. So that's why legal aid is not only to help the needy people. By that way, you are also learning those professional skills which will be helpful in your future when you enter any type of profession. You may join law firm or anyway, whosoever involved in these activities. Now they are in some the alumni are Supreme Court advocates, High Court advocates, law firms. Everywhere they are using these skills, and sometimes they are calling and discussing with these matters. Sir, because of these skills, we are now comfortable and confident to handle any type of cases. So that is the way you have to keep in mind to learn these skills while you are in 5 years or 3 years law degree. So that helps you. And also, whenever you do always you do that the projects in all the subjects and take up live issues, what is happening in the society, and on those live issues prepare your research supportive documents, so that those reports can be sent to the concerned regulatory authorities, concerned departments, concerned ombudsman, so that they may take your the research work and act on that. There are good people in the governance. There are good IAS officer, IPS officer, the ombudsman, regulatory authorities. So they will see, actually, there are people who wants to help the society in the government, but they are not getting the legal backup, detailed, supportive information. That's why they are unable to implement that. Once these informations, they get it, then immediately they act on that. So that is another way. Whatever you do research, not only for marks, not only for examination. So whatever you are doing, it's a multi-purpose. Yes, one part is the marks, another part is help the needy people. So send that report to the concerned people. So that also we did it. So last year we did it we took a unfair trade practice. Now under the Consumer Protection Act, there is a central authority, Consumer Protection Central Authority is there. So there, if you do research, get the supportive documents, consumer as a class, if it is affecting, that is unfair trade practice, then you can send a complaint through online to the central authority, and they will admit once that consumer as a class, they satisfy, and they are taking necessary actions. So for live examples are, nowadays e-commerce are exploiting the consumers, e-consumer. There are some goods sold without obeying the existing laws. For example, helmet. Without ISI mark, helmets are sold in Amazon, Flipkart. Then pressure cooker without ISI mark. So those data collected and submitted to the central authority imposed fine on these Amazon, Flipkart selling the goods which is against the law. They took a defense that we are just a platform, we are not sellers. But court looked into, you're not a charity people, a huge profit you are getting, equal responsibility on the whosoever you are allowing on your platform. You should see that if they should follow the laws of the land. If they are not following, then you have to pay jointly or severally. You pay it, later you can recover from whosoever done the wrong. So that also done by the students. So a lot of scope is there for the students to do work and connect to the people. So these are the some of the information I wanted to share. And what I told, always there is a recognition from the student community, even if a little bit lacking in the drafting or supportive documents, always quote, encourages them. See, this document is not there, you have to do this correction. They encourages you and they allow you to do that. They know that you are a student, you are not an advocate. Always the smooth corner towards the students, because you are approaching the court or commission for the to help the society. So that is the way you have to do that. And lastly, one particular, even Mahatma Gandhi gave a statement, always you will get in every sector or every area, you will get a statements of Mahatma Gandhi. On legal aid, one of the statement given by the Mahatma Gandhi, that is, the end of all education should surely be service. And if a student gets an opportunity of rendering service, even whilst he is studying, he should consider it as a rare opportunity and treat it not really as a suspension of his education, but rather its complement. So that is the way you have to look into. And with this, I conclude. Thank you very much, the organizers, allowing me to share my views. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your experience with NLS students in filing the PIL and consumer complaints. I believe that that really motivated our teams to take this competition even more seriously, and also for sharing that legal aid as a coin. One side is to help the underprivileged and the other side is to hone your professional skills. Thank you so much for your wise words. I now welcome Professor Sairam Bhatt, Professor of Law, NLS, and Center Coordinator of CEERA to address the gathering.
Warm good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining us today. Let me welcome Professor V.S. Patil, Professor at V.M. Salgaonkar Law College, and also our esteemed colleague and guest for this workshop, Professor Ashok Patil. We have other resource persons also joining us, Professor Bismi Gopalakrishnan, Rangin Tripathi will also be addressing this workshop. Friends, at the outset, Professor Ashok Patil, I think, inspires legal aid work. For many of us who know his work, may not know the kind and range of activity that he has undertaken at the Consumer Law Chair and Center at the National Law School of India University before he took charge as the Vice Chancellor of NLU Ranchi. Friends, this is a newspaper clipping of 2012 from Times of India, where Professor Ashok Patil, along with the students of National Law School, took up cases against misleading advertisements. I remember in 2012, misleading advertisement was not such a major issue under the Consumer Protection Act. And I think to all the credit that I must give to Professor Ashok Patil, I think his campaign on misleading advertisement, both campaign at the consumer forums in terms of the advocacy that he did. Second, offering special courses to the students of the National Law School. Third, liaising with the Ministry of Consumer Affairs to bring about a change in the law, I think has led to a new legislation called the Consumer Protection Law of 2019. Friends, I think, when we say legal aid, I think this is what legal aid means. You actually aid the transformation of law through society, through government, through policy intervention. And I think we all have a role to see that the law is refined the law is improved. And I think, this is a kind of a dynamic process. And I think we all have equal contribution to make. Friends, when we talk about consumer protection, I think we think that the practice of consumer protection is easy. Yes, it is. Like Professor Ashok Patil said, in terms of the procedural requirements, it is. But there are a lot of people who are still being cheated. There are a lot of people who are being misled. There is a lot of challenges still in the area of protecting consumer rights. And we cannot say that, consumer protection law has reached the nook and corners of India. We can definitely not say that. I think there is rural India, there is urban India. We seems to be quite educated. We say we are all literates, but we are not legally literate. We still don't know how we can approach consumer forum, how best remedies can be brought by consumer forum. And I think this is where we all have to contribute. And I think this competition is actually furthering the cause of legal aid, as you all know, because we wanted to revive legal aid clinics across legal education institutions. Students think moot court is a priority. Students think, client counseling is a priority. Students think debate competition is a priority. I think, yes, they are all very important. But at the same time, for us, what is important is that legal institutions realize their social responsibility. And legal aid is one of those critical components adding to social responsibility. So I think it's very, very important that we take inspiration from our speakers today, because everyone who's going to speak in this workshop has contributed in some form or the other, has led the student and the society towards contributing to some form or manner of assisting citizens who actually require access to justice. Friends, access to justice is not only something that we all as legal scholars must have, but it's also a constitutional mandate. And I think in terms of access to justice, we all realize that in India, we are we have a long road to achieve the same. And I think if we all collectively come together, Professor Ashok Patil, just to inform you, we have 49 teams in this Professor V.S. Mallar competition. It's a 4-month-long competition. And yet 49 teams have shown interest in this competition. So we hope that in this workshop, we'll be able to guide their activities. We'll be able to inspire and motivate the students and the faculty members to take the cause of access to justice as a serious constitutional mandate. And I think if we all realize that there are tangible benefits of legal aid. I have personally seen Professor Ashok Patil. I have personally, watched him very closely. And he has used legal aid to further the cause of legal practice. He has trained students in consumer practice. He has led them to not only file cases before the consumer forum, he has led them to file even public interest litigation, because Professor Ashok Patil had experience in practice. He actually worked with Justice N. Kumar for some time before he became an academician. So he used his experience of practice, he clubbed it as a teacher, he used the strength of students to actually motivate them so that the cause of access to justice can be actually strengthened. And I think this is what we must take as an inspiration. And I'm sure when you go on the field, when you do some kind of advocacy work, it only makes you a better person, right? Changing the lives of people who require access to justice, I think, is a great satisfaction that we all must cherish at some point of time in our life. So I hope all of you will take inspiration from the contribution of Professor Ashok Patil in the field of consumer law. His contribution is noteworthy in the ministry itself, not only in terms of the advocacy that he has undertaken, but also in terms of research contribution that he has undertaken. So I'm sure this will help you strengthen your legal aid clinics. It will help you identify areas and topics where students can volunteer, they can contribute, and we can also see that legal aid becomes a part of the curriculum for legal education. So once again, let me thank Professor Ashok Patil for joining us today morning, being with us, sharing his insights and expertise on consumer law. and also, being in this workshop as our support to Professor V.S. Mallar and the competition in his memorial. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I will now hand it over to Gayatri Keki to take the session.
Thank you, sir. We will now move on to the first technical session. I invite Dr. B.S. Patil to the session. Dr. Patil is an associate professor at VM Salgaonkar College of Law, Goa. He has undertaken various initiatives and has played a leading role in multiple programs. He was the director of the Legal Aid Society at VMSCL. And one of the projects under his guidance that must be mentioned is the Library in Village Education project. Under the aegis of the Legal Aid Society, he also started Child Rights Clinic, Prison Clinic, and Consumer Rights Clinic in the college. A very hearty welcome to the session, sir. Over to you.
So thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And I've been invited by Professor Sai-Ram, and he called me and he said, you have to speak about legal aid and the lawyers. So the topic itself was quite attractive for me to grasp it, and started preparing on that. So I can share the slides also, if at all I'm allowed to, or I can do without that. Yeah.
Please share the slides.
So,
you have been made the co-host. You can share the slides.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a fair idea about this event that is going on, and I have been observing it from the last year, and it's a great initiative which you have all undertaken. My internet connection is very stable. It was stable as long as Ashok was speaking. And suddenly it became unstable when I started speaking. So there is a discrimination in internet also. Somewhere Ashok finds a way out, and I do this every time. Whenever he's there in the library, he manages everything goes smoothly. So when I took up this working on this idea of a legal aid clinic and opportunities for budding lawyers, most of the thing Dr. Ashok has covered it, and he has covered it very effectively. And I feel that legal is a service to the society, but more than service to the society, it is a self-service where you are going to learn a lot as a part of the legal aid activity. And it is heartening to see that there are entries for the event, and it's a cumbersome 4 months event, and still colleges are showing so much of interest in this. That shows that the legal aid is a concept which has come to stay, and it's going to survive. So therefore, keeping these few things in mind, when I started working on this idea of legal aid, the first thing that came to my mind was Professor Mallar. And then I started looking for the photograph of Professor Mallar. I had few. He was always very articulative, and his hand movement was never stable. He has to, and the face that he's carrying this photograph is actually to make when he's speaking, because he's get so much involved with his topic and talk. And he's always used to speak above. I used to blow the roof away. So that's how he was, and he lived. And they are the inspiration for this.
Sorry to intervene. Can I request you to switch your video off? Maybe the bandwidth can.
Yes.
Just keep your video.
That would be better.
Yeah.
Yes. That.
Yeah.
Wait. I'm not. I'm not able to find that thing. Wait. Here it is. Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, yeah, please.
Found it. It has gone on top of the screen. I was searching down. Okay. Thank you very much for the suggestion. And now here, when you are looking into this, the photograph is where our students were doing some of the exhibitions for the legal luminaries, and that's when Madhav Menon was visiting our institution, and he was so impressed with the work that we were carrying on. He had actually done some project for some foreign institution, and he was paid for the work that he had done. It was quite a long, tedious work that he had done. That in his for on this activity. I want to see the success in this. That was the encouragement which we received from Professor Madhav Menon. That's why I have put the photograph of the exhibition also. And that's where we felt that we are on the right track, and what we are doing is reaching the people. And with this encouragement, we started working, we continued working. And this is the brief idea about what activity we do. We have around 25 legal aid cells all over Goa, spread all over Goa. We have off campus clinics, and you can see that we are mostly concentrated on the northern part of the Goa, because that's where our college is situated. And the students come from various parts of Goa, so they travel. We don't have hostels, so therefore traveling is mandatory for them. And because of that, we are able to establish the clinics wherever they are traveling from, whichever village they are coming from. So therefore, we have a good penetration into the society. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the ideas that came to us and those ideas. Some of that picked up from here and can be implemented. And so there are a few ideas that I'm going to share, which you need to study by yourself to identify the scope where you will make a difference. So we have offline cells, legal aid cells, all over spread all over. We have specialized clinics. These work. So consumer clinic is there, again inspiration from Dr. Ashok. We have child rights clinic, which was initiated long back. Then we have introduced a Center for Rights of Persons with Disability, CRPD. Again, we avoided calling it as a clinic, because when we were planning to put up identify the name for this, we realized that clinic is the word which people with disability hate. So they don't like that word, because wherever they have been taken, it was otherwise, it will be the clinic or the otherwise. So therefore, we converted that into center. And similarly, we have Center for Rights of Older Persons. We call it as CROP. And then Women Rights Clinic has been introduced from the last year. So these are the specialized clinics that we have. These are subject specific, and they work on the specific subject, and they do research and bring changes in the society. Let me start with asking these three questions in the before I start the session. So that is, one is, what is the purpose of the education, particularly legal education? And does this legal aid has a place in this legal education? And whether the purpose of the education has changed in the 21st century? Why I'm asking these questions as a pre-session questions is because when you go through my presentation, my main presentation is mainly about what we do in this college, in VM Salgaonkar College. But whether we are fitting into the purpose of the education, the purpose of legal education, purpose of the education in 21st century, these are some of the questions I expect you to answer by yourself. So when you look into the lawyer, we share a very mixed expressions from the people. So when this question is asked, what comes to your mind when you hear the word lawyer? we got a mixed view that in red is the negative about the profession, green is the positive view, and the black is a kind of neutral view about the profession. And why we are having negative view, why society looks at lawyers negatively, and there is a serious necessity to build our reputation back. As a lawyer, we need to be a social reformer, law reformer, but how they look at us? They look at us as ambulance chasers, vultures. They look at us as hired gun. So now there is a need to change our image in the society. And what is the best way to do? The best way to do is start doing it here immediately from the law college. Now this is our contribution as a law college towards building the image of the lawyers. So duty of the law school is, these are the words of Prof. Madhav Menon. And when he mentioned that the lawyers should be intellectually challenging, professionally competent, and socially relevant. Now, see, there are three components, three parts of being a good lawyer: intellectually, professionally, and socially. All three aspects should be there part of the lawyer. And don't you think the legal aid is one area, if it is been implemented effectively, properly, then definitely we are going to achieve all the three aspects. So we have three things to do. One, provide the knowledge of law. I think this is what every college does, and we are good at it. Provide the skills of law. Now, this is where we lack. We lack giving the skill training to the students, and then add ethical value to the whole discussion. So that ethical value. So how to add ethical value through your teaching line? These are the three tasks which we need to perform as a law college. And these are the three tasks the students of law should expect from the law college. So a typical day of a lawyer involves these things. First, a client comes to interview the client. Therefore, he should have interviewing skills embedded in his personality. After interviewing the client, he has to do the counseling of the client, identify the goals of the client, and then based on the problem and the goal, you're going to find the theory, which is the most suitable theory for the lawyer. Then you're going to conduct the research. The researching skills are required. Then you're going to do the drafting, arguing, and if you're a trial lawyer, you're going to even conduct the trial of the case. Now, there are so many skills are required to be a good lawyer. And it's a typical day of a lawyer. So many skills has to be exhibited by the lawyer. Are we providing these skills? Are we actually empowering the students in giving these skills? The answer is a big no. The reason is that we are more involved with providing the knowledge, but we are less involved with providing the skills. And where lies the answer? The answer lies in the legal. Legal can provide all of these skills. And how they are going to provide these skills is that, as
Sir,
Benjamin Franklin has mentioned, tell me.
Intervene for a moment. I request all of the other participants to kindly switch off their videos and mute themselves.
Yeah. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir, please.
Sir.
Yeah. So as Benjamin Franklin mentioned, tell me I forget, teach me I remember, involve me I learn. Now, if you take this into consideration, learning can be done if you involve the students in the process of learning. So how do you involve the students? Legal aid is the best way to do it. Because when we look into other activities of the college, like moot court addresses one specific part of the skill, the bouquet of the skill which the lawyer must possess. Only one minuscule part, that is the last part of the lawyer's list of skills. But whereas legal aid can address en bloc all the skills that is required to be a lawyer. So all this time we are asking the question that whether the legal aid is sustainable. Stop asking that question. Now start asking this question: how to make it sustainable? Because we are going to draw maximum benefit through the legal aid activities. Now, what are the benefits the state should have? Should our state might get through legal aid of the law students? We can reach to the remote villages, which the state can do, but maximum expense, because when students don't charge, they do it for the other requirement, that is the requirement of clearing a subject. So therefore it would be cost effective and we can reach the remote villages. Cost is low, that's what I was mentioning. We can involve ourselves into preventive legal service programs. Now that is something which we are not doing much, because when we say legal aid, we try to imagine legal aid in the court, that is during the litigation. But there can be a legal aid which can prevent litigation. And that is what the Professor Sairam was mentioning, and even Professor Ashok was mentioning, that when we do research, when we submit our findings to the authorities or even the judiciary, they can make a policy decision and prevent the further litigations. Community education is one area where I think all colleges are doing their job. They are doing their job well. But what happens is, when you deal with community education, the results cannot be seen, because the education is one area where the results can be felt only after 2-3 generations. So that's what, when we started IIT and IIMs in India, the benefit of that was felt in 90s and 2000, because it was started in 50s. So that long the education takes to show its impact. So therefore, continue to do your community education. You may not see the result immediately. Modern society's demands are there, many demands. One of the major demand is lack of time. So that's where even the students can step in, because when we say legal aid, we think of poor people. But there are people with means, but they don't have time. And they prefer to suffer because of the lack of time. They can't afford to go to court. They can't afford to fight a case. So under those circumstances, the modern society's demands are changing. And students can really address those modern society's requirements. And the most important legal aid which we can provide is transformation of the society by making right conscious, by making them duty conscious, and that's what the students can do. So I have made a list of the benefits the state can provide. And these are the reasons why state should support legal aid of the law colleges, because we can really bring the change. The NALSA, DALSA, SALSA, whatever the Professor Ashok was mentioning, they look at us as the extension of their activities. No, we cannot be extension of their activities. We do our activities. We need a support from them. So that's where there is a little bit of a gap that exists between us and the judiciary or the authorities under Legal Services Authority Act. Now, what students benefit from this legal aid? That improves the value and the reputation of the legal profession. And when they enter the profession, definitely they would be reaping the benefit of improved image of a lawyer profession. Learning by doing, that is the DIY, do it yourself, is the best way to learn a new skill or a new knowledge. And that's what legal aid provides you. So when you pick up an issue, when you try to work on it, definitely it's going to add to your personality, and you're going to be a different person by the end of the project. Teaching professional responsibility, that is you start to handle the documents very well in advance before you start practicing. See, handling documents is a very sensitive issue, because if you lose the document, you lose the case. So therefore, we teach our students not to touch the originals, always deal with the photostat copies, always deal with the Xerox copies, because that responsibility has to be taught and they are going to learn while doing the project or while dealing with the client. Practical skills. Now that is what I was mentioning, a day of a lawyer's life. Those all practical skills you are going to learn. So my students deal with the clients directly. When the client comes to the legal aid cell, they interview the client. See, they are learning the client interview. They collect the information and bring it to the lawyer or the professor for advice. So therefore, they are doing client interview, and then they do the research, then they consult, they do the human research, where getting the inputs from the different people, professors and the lawyers. So with this, they are learning a lot of skills which are required for a successful lawyer profession. So this is what I was mentioning, that there is an inside litigation service and outside litigation service. So what we should explore is outside litigation service, because inside litigation already the lawyers are there, the professionals are ready to help them. We can do a limited job in the inside litigation, but my main concentration is going to be outside litigation service. So these are about the kinds of clinics that is on campus and off campus. We run both kinds of the clinics. And when we look into these clinics, I'm going to give you, this is what I'm more interested in, because I'm going to tell you how we sustained legal aid in our college and what are the characteristics of our college which made it sustain. If you find the same characteristics in your college, you can always replicate it. And Professor Sairam is there, we are there, we can always come and give you guidance in this regard. If your characteristics, your features of your college is different from that, from my college, then definitely you can work out an innovative method of providing legal aid different from what we are doing, because our characteristics are not same. So that's why this is what I am looking at. Climatology of legal aid. So what I have seen, what I have observed in my college is my 95% of the students come from the locality. So we don't have hostel, and the students from Delhi and others who have joined our college, they have to stay on their own. So therefore, we attract more local students. That's one strength that we have. Second strength is all my students speak local language. Konkani is, they are very fluent in Konkani, and they speak with the local people much easily. Third important aspect which I have seen is responsive local bodies and the state. So panchayat, municipality, police. So whenever we approach with the work, we find that they are very responsive to the needs and requirements of the students. That's another very important thing. And responsiveness is not it was not there in the initial part, till we built our reputation that we provide legal aid, we do a lot of social work. Then we started getting positive response from the local bodies. Initially, when we went to Panchayat asking for a space to work once in a week as a legal aid cell, many Panchayats refused. Then later we started the requests coming from the Panchayat. We have a space, please start a legal aid cell in my Panchayat. We started getting the request. When there was an incident in one of the school, ugly incident. So suddenly the education board of Goa, they made it strict, the entry and exit in the school. But 5 of our legal aid cells were functioning from the school. So now our entry became difficult. So what to do? So now we met the education department, asked for the special permission. They gave us a special card, entry card. So we worked it out because the local bodies were very responsive. Responsive local community. people started believing us. Why they started believing us is because we started showing the results. And that's one thing you should all understand, that you should show the results. And to show the result, you should take a very small work which is visible to all, like senior citizen card. So we started making senior citizen cards. By making the card, the students, the senior citizen used to get 50% concession in the bus, concession in train, different line for in the hospitals. These are the benefits which didn't cost much to the state, and therefore we started making senior citizen cards. As and when we went to different houses and giving them the finished product, the card to them, they started believing that we can bring the change, we can give the result. So therefore, the society became more and more responsive for our needs and requirements. So then, continuing with my discussion, that is semi-urban and rural areas. That's another thing which is unique about Goa, that we have rural areas and semi-urban areas, and the rural areas cells, they function and their features are very, very different from urban-centric cells. In rural areas, we get a very good response, and mostly we deal with individual cases. In urban areas, we mostly deal with community work, because there in urban areas, people think that they don't have any problem, and even if they have a problem, they can manage on their own. So therefore, our community work would be more in urban, and specific individual work would be more in rural areas. Society faith in state mechanism is another most important aspect in Goa, that in Goa, people don't take law in their hands. And here they believe in approaching the authority and expect authority to solve their problem. And that's one of the reasons why we become representative of most of the issues relating to villages. Cooperation from lawyers and NGOs, as now we are running this legal aid cell from 1998. So this is almost like 25 years old. So most of the volunteers of the legal aid society are the lawyers now. And some of them have joined the government, some of them become judges. So the cooperation is like never before. So they know that the work is being done, and they know that they need help from the department. So this is how we sustain in VMS here. Now, anatomical changes, how to make it, keep it for a long run, is recognition from national and international organizations. We have been recognized by national and international organizations, universities. We have recognized from USA and Australia. They have come here visiting our legal aid experience and experiment, and they have recognized us. And the competitions like this. Now, this is a great contribution from NLSIU and CEERA, that when you conduct these things, you are doing nothing but recognizing their work. And that gives a lot of initiatives to the students to work. Innovative in charge. So we change in charges every 2 years, so that a new in charge brings new ideas. Changing the role of the teachers, that's very often we do. First, we started, our teachers became motivators. We kept motivating students to work. And 1 year we suddenly decided that we should not remain motivators, we should become inspectors. So inspectors means we went on inspecting, finding fault, catching them, asking them to do more work, and then reporting. So we became inspectors. So from motivators to the inspectors and back to the motivators. So like this, when we change the role, we instruct the teachers to change their role every semester or every year. Inventing options, there are many ways you can provide legal aid, and all those things has to be, invention should be done continuously. Flexibility in functioning. So legal aid is one decentralized activity. It's run by the students, because initially we tried to centralize the whole activity, then we realized every village has a different problem. So we can't give the central theme for the legal aid society. So we avoided giving the central theme. One cell would be working on dog menace, another cell will be working on the shrimp farming, the problem caused by the shrimps. One will be working on CRZ violations, and another one will be working on an entirely different area like traffic violations and requirements of road humps. So they all diversified work they do, and we allow them all the flexibility required. Motivated students, there are different motivations are there. Students are if a cell has 15 students, they have different motivations to work, join the cell and work for the cell. But as long as the motivations are there, we should exploit that motivation and make the student to work hard. Building competitiveness. Now that's another thing we have done, that we have created inter-legal aid cell competitions, and we call it as inter-lag contest, and we designed around 8 competitions and they participate, and it's a very beautiful activity because there are different identities. One identity is I belong to first year BLL. Then the second identity is I belong to Sakli Legal Aid Cell. So therefore, there are multiple identities. One competition, they are representing the class. In another competition, they will be representing the cell. So therefore, that competitiveness, different identities really helps the college to become a cohesive structure. So there was no groupism in the college because of this multiple identities. So that's why I asked you to go through these requirements, and by now you must have understood that these are the 7 features which we have, characteristics which we have. If you share the same characteristics, you can replicate our experience. But if you have different characteristics, definitely list them, will work out something else for you. So these are the 7 legal aid activities that can be done. If you look at the 7, all 7 can be done by every college. Legal representation, yes, we can do it in consumer forum, we can do it in right to information forum. Then some limited scope is there in other institutions. Legal awareness, that's the most common thing, that's Amitabh Bachchan of all the legal aid activities, because everybody does that. Legal advice, this is something only if the client visits, you can provide that legal advice. We get, but not that we get 20-30 clients a month. We get very rarely 2-3 clients a month. So like that, but there are people who are asking for legal advice. And as long as the advice is given by the professionals, the lawyer or the professors of the college, then the advice is taken on a face value. But the advice is given by the student. Generally, the society doesn't take it seriously. Paralegal services, yes, that's a lot of paralegal service that we do. We provide form filling. We also conduct surveys and try to get the reality check and then submit the report to the state. Public interest litigation, yes, we have done around 22 public interest litigations, ranging from CRZ violations to establishment of a state human rights commission. Today, the state of Goa has a state human rights commission because one of our students filed PIL and got it done. Promoting ADR, yes, that is one dream that we have. We want to convert each of our legal aid cell into ADR center, and they should become a dispute resolution center in that locality. That would be a very grand dream that we possess. Till now, we have dealt with some of the disputes. We tried our ADR, but we have succeeded only in 2 cases, very less success rate, mainly because the disputants are very fresh and they want to flex their muscles in the code and then try to get the feel of it. Once they get tired and they're weak, then they go for ADR and resolve the dispute. That's the tragedy of ADR. ADR should be adopted as a first method of resolving dispute, but it becomes a last resort to the parties. Law reform, yes, we have done a lot of law reform. There is a Goa Children's Act is there. One chapter of the act is being designed by us. Then in the law reform, the one more aspect of the law reform is about compliance of the law. So we make sure that every institution comply with the law. And presently, we are working on compliance of POSH Act, Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. Compliance of that we are going through. We are empowering each institution and then checking each institution of the composition of the committees and other things, and make sure that every institution in state of Goa complies with the POSH Act. From there, we are moving on to Rights of Persons with Disability Act. We want to make a list of the required compliances and then go to each institution and make sure that they comply with that. So this is one work which is ongoing work. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind. 4 questions before we complete this 4 months. What is the climatology of your institution? Please identify that. What are the challenges that your institution faces? Maybe lack of fund, lack of time, whatever may be. And sometimes the biggest challenge is part-time student. That is also a big challenge some institutions face. Which of the opportunity you will be implementing and why? So out of the 7, you have to select. If you do all 7, you may end up doing nothing. Yeah, because this is the first step or the initial steps in the legal aid. So you should choose and concentrate on one and then expand to the other requirements. Which opportunities cannot be implemented and why? So that is something, because when we really think that this is something which we cannot do, we cannot manage, then you can really bring some changes in the institutional structure and make it happen. So these are the few things you have to keep in mind and work on this. This is a brainstorming which I'm recommending. So these are the vision with which we have started working. Clinically oriented quality legal education is one. So please remember, when we say legal aid, our main focus is the student, not the society. Society is the beneficiary of our legal aid activity where we are training our students. So they are indirect beneficiaries. Students are the direct beneficiaries. Provide effective legal assistance to all, make their right to access to justice a reality, create professionally competent and socially relevant professionals. So out of the 3 visions, 2 are student-centric, 1 is society-centric. This is what I was trying to mention. So practice-oriented legal education is our mission. And so therefore, practice-oriented means the one who joins the legal lawyer's profession rather than joining the corporate sector. So that is one idea, that stronger legal aid makes the students join practice or even start an NGO. And that's my experience in this VM-SEER. So practice-oriented legal education to students and effectively ensure effective access to justice for all. How we work, there is a director for the legal aid society and there's an advisory committee. Usually the earlier directors would be in the advisory committee. There is an associate director and a teacher in charge. So each cell would be held by one teacher, or maybe 2 legal aid cells would be given to 1 teacher. Students, there is a core team, which is again a team which is going to plan and implement the work for that year. Then there is each cell will have 1 student in charge and 1 assistant in charge. And then we have student members. So this is how the whole setup is with students and the teachers. So that's how they work together. That's why I was telling our work is completely decentralized, because the teacher in charge work out the topic to be covered as a legal aid activity, whereas the director look into the financial support that the activity requires. So the funding is the major headache for a legal aid clinics, and we run this funding at minimum. We run the legal aid cell at minimum cost, and therefore funding is not a major issue for us, because we generally fund our activities through the fees that the students pay. And then now, because of long-standing work that we have done in the society, now we are getting different agencies funding our activities. I was mentioning about the POSH Act funded activity. The thing is done by the state of Goa. Similarly, CRPD, we are going for a social welfare department, and they are also willing to fund our activity. So these are the opportunities of legal aid clinics. I'll skip this anyway. You are all aware about it. The few success stories of the of my college, I think our moderator had mentioned few of it. One is the library to improve village education. Here, mainly, a student came to me and he said that he wants to see the Goans cracking the IAS exams. Why it is not happening? Then we thought that lack of access to library. So we went on, checked the law. We found the schemes. We found the policy of library in panchayat level. And based on that, we went and made an application to the state and started getting the funding. So these are the libraries established in this college in different panchayats. So that was the main research was about the laws available and funding that is possible. And we started getting those. This is another village. This is Pale Kotabi village, and they started it in 2018. This is another cell, another panchayat. This is when we started the library, we realized that the concept of the library has gone sea change. Now buses don't, the books don't. The library is dependent on internet connectivity and printing facility and computers. So we went and contact the companies through CSR activities. They agreed to fund the library through establishment of supplying the computers. Panchayat agreed to get the internet connections, and printing facility was provided by the companies. We had this survey on sexual harassment. Now, this survey was done at the behest of the court, because the judge, presiding officer, felt that Romeo Juliet cases are the major problem in the society, because a child running away and marrying who is a minor, it is presumed to be a rape. So many boys were getting convicted under that. So we conducted a survey and we tried to educate them about the risk of running away and marrying a girl of below age, permissible age. Child labor abolition in coastal villages. This is one grand success we had. We went through all the shacks, 5-star, 2-star, 1-star shacks on the coastal village. The village name is Mandre, and we made sure that the child labor is not employed there. And how we went about is, first we attended Gram Sabha. In the Gram Sabha, we made Gram Sabha pass a resolution abolishing the child labor, as well as putting a poster on every hotel that child labor is not employed here. And we went to all the shacks and we made it sure that they implemented the Gram Sabha's resolution. And when hotels were not responding well, we went to child labor child commission, and child commission sent its own member and police and made sure that it is implemented. So advertisement, again, inspiration from Dr. Patil and Ashok. and we also had advertisement products for children consumption. There we had a research and we submitted the findings to the authority. A few offshoots are there. The benefits that we do as a teacher. Professor Kuto visited Australia because we had a with them. Professor Prasad became Fulbrighter based upon our community-centric activities. Prasad is a committee member of prison reforms, as well as State Commission for Child, and I have become advisory member for CEERA, the Central Adoption Authority. I am part of the think tank of disability rights in Goa. Biodiversity members. See, we teachers got opportunities because the work of the students. So that's how these are a few teachers I have kept, and I think in time. Thank you very much. Hope I have conveyed it well.
Thank you so much for elaborately covering the working of legal aid clinic at the VMSCL and how the legal aid ecosystem in your institution has been sustained for so long. And thank you for guiding our teams to improve legal aid clinics in their institutions as well. With that, we'll begin our second technical session. I welcome Professor Bismi Gopalakrishnan, who is the Dean, Faculty of Law and Head of School of Indian Legal Thought, MG University, Kerala. Dr. Gopalakrishnan is an alumni of the United States Department of State Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs International Visitor Leadership Program and has held various administrative positions and has also extensively researched and published in the area of health law. Dr. Gopalakrishnan is also the founder of the Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer National Legal Aid Clinic at SILT in 2019. Really happy to have you here, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to the second edition of Professor V.S. Mallar Legal Aid Competition. At the outset, I would like to thank Professor Sairam sir for inviting me. And I would also like to thank, I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to Professor Sairam sir and the entire CEERA team for all the hard work and dedication that you've been undertaking for the past several years for ensuring social justice in our community. So all of us believe that we live in a free and democratic society. And legal aid is crucial for the proper administration of justice in a free and democratic society. Our society is based on rule of law, and in a society based on rule of law, every person must have access to the justice system. Now that has been also cemented by Article 14 of our Indian Constitution. So if people does not have access to law, the rights and freedoms that is mentioned in the Constitution doesn't make any sense. It will be jeopardized. So basically, when there is no equality of resources within the society, some people will require aid to enforce their rights and understand their responsibilities. Now, I've used the word some people. Now, who are these some people? Well, he may be a member of the vulnerable group. He may be an SAST, or he may be a survivor of trafficking. Maybe the person, he may be a woman or a child, a person with mental illness who is there in who's been retained in the hospital in spite of us being cured of his problem. Then may be a survivor of disasters, ethnic violence, or floods or any other natural calamities, then maybe a senior citizen or an industrial worker, or maybe engaged in an industry, or maybe having an annual income less than that has been fixed in any state. So these people are there in the society, and maybe because they are illiterate, maybe because they are unaware of their rights, because of the cost of litigation, or they are scared to access the justice, and or maybe because of the stress of litigation, they're just they need a helping hand to come forward. Now, if legal aid is not available to the most vulnerable people, their legal problems will continue to persist. Now, that will affect their daily life, the basic understanding of their rights, enjoying the freedom in its true sense, then maybe trying to understand and realize the basic rights and privileges, even that is the housing or health, and they're improving their life. So normally when we think of the word legal aid, as Professor Patel sir was mentioning, we always refer to the practical aspects like the courts and the legal aid that is given through the courts, maybe legal advice, counseling, consultation, representations by the courts in the legal proceedings, then the payment of the court fees, then preparing pleadings for the person, and then appeals and lot of paperwork. But from the university level, from the academia level, what more can we do? What should we have a different perspective of the system? So how to address now from the university, because I'm not from a national law university, but I'm from the state-run university where we faces a lot of hurdles as to move this to try to move this particular legal aid moving ahead. So we do face a lot of difficulties, and whenever we step into the legal aid programs involving the students, what happens is that we have to address the gap between the academia, the grassroots experience, and the academic teaching. So how can we bridge the gap between the academia, the grassroots experience, the real needs of the society, that is what I really mean, and the academic teaching? So how can you integrate that, the theory and practice within the legal education? So, so the first questions that come to a teacher from a state-run university, and for example, in Kerala, we have nearly 7 state-run universities and law colleges, which comes under different government stream, and also nearly 40 private colleges. So the vision of each one will be different, but the hurdles that they face is one and the same, because everyone comes under the state-sponsored schemes, and they have to take the very same permission. So when you visualize the legal aid clinics, and when we try to think of integrating the theory and practice, the first question that we have to tackle is, why is this whole program for? Why do you do it? So is it only for the students, or is it for the community? So the basic question starts from that. Is it for the community, or is it for the students? Basic learning. Now, if you visualize that it is just for the students and for learning, then ends the whole story, because that is a very myopic view, and you consider the society as a client, and you consider the society as just a client, as a means to an end, and learning becomes just a byproduct. And here we have to understand that it is nothing but you're serving the community. And when you understand that we are champions to serve the society, the whole picture becomes different. As mentioned, when we are launching the Krishna Iyer Legal Aid clinical service at NG University, with the help and the support of the state government funding, we face a lot of difficulties, especially regarding the administrative procedures, especially regarding getting permissions, etc. But the fact is that we could handle the first question very clearly. Now we were very sure that we were working for the community, and the students were also taken into the confidence that yes, we are for the society. Now, basically, I'll just mention one or two areas that we were trying to focus on, because during COVID-19, what we did was that trying to understand the difficult situations of the mortuary workers. So basically, we know many things. We know many things, and we presume that the society know the many things. For example, we know what right to education is, we know what the preamble is, we know what right to health is. And we presume that every one of us surrounding us also know the content and the component of these rights. But that is something which the experience of the students and ourselves, we understood that our perceptions is entirely different from what the societal perceptions is. So during COVID-19, when we were launching an awareness campaign on the human rights of workers dealing with dead bodies, that is the mortuary workers and the workers, the crematorium workers. So we wanted to understand the gravity of human rights violations faced by the mortuary workers and the crematorium workers. So we wanted to have the rights as far as these workers, and also those workers who are working in the burial grounds, also burial grounds in the crematorium fields. And so we wanted to have a first-hand experience of the human rights violations, and also how it is connected with the caste and the class intertwinings that is in within the society. And what we did was that it was really very difficult to get the permission outrightly, and especially from the health department, from the medical colleges, and then maybe because of we had to use a little bit of personal contacts also to get started with this particular survey methods and awareness campaign procedures, so that we can move ahead and we can finally reach draft a white paper on the rights that and the violations that goes across. And here in this another thing that we did was that we also involved the LLM, the PG students also in this particular procedure. Now, we were also, another thing that we could do was to draft a white paper on the implementation of sexual harassment law, because after almost a decade of POSH Act, we wanted to understand the obstacles that was actually there for implementing the POSH Act in its full sense. So through this legal aid clinic, what we did was that we tried to draft a white paper, and we could do that, and then we have submitted that to the Kerala the Women's Commission, so that we can move on. And again, we were also successful in building a charter of demand on the labor rights of ASHA workers. I don't know whether the term ASHA workers is familiar to you, but ASHA workers in Kerala, they play a very crucial role. They are the frontline workers, healthcare workers, as far as the healthcare services in Kerala is concerned. So they have a hectic work schedule. They work in the local communities. They visit each and every household, and then they are the first point of contact as far as the healthcare service is concerned. So they work extensively, but what about their rights, and whether paid properly by, through the government schemes? So a charter of demand for charter of demands, and which ultimately led to the legal interventions to improve the working conditions of the ASHA workers. And one more thing that we could do was that to concentrate on the unorganized sector, the women workers, because at that time we were facing the Nilpa Samaram, because it is in many of the textile shops, they were not allowed to sit. They had to join the enterprises, the shops at 9 o'clock, and then when they leave the institution, when they leave the shop at roughly about 8, they were not allowed to sit in the during that working hours. So it was called the Nilpa Samaram in Kerala. And also there was also simultaneously there was a struggle to have urinals that is the, throughout. So that is in these textile shops, and it was called the Penkuto. Penkutu, that is the togetherness of women, especially in Calicut. So the basic labor rights of women and the workers in the unorganized fields, we were just zeroing down on that, and how to improve the life of the working women. So look, all this could be, it was being brought about with the help of the students interacting with the society, the stakeholders of that concerned society. And the net result of these was definitely putting the Charter of Demands or the rights before the government for proper legal interventions. And definitely when we were just dealing with we were just taking the students to meet the prisoners, or we were currently we are facing a lot of problems, because first problem, definitely it is the permission that we really need, because especially when we want to see the women prisoners, and sometimes it gets extremely difficult to get the permissions to move on. And sometimes it is just one point a talk, you talk to them and you forget about them, and then the second time it's difficult to get the permission once again. So that is also the situations that we are facing. So another thing that has been launched through the institution, through the legal clinic, there is the awareness campaigns. Especially we take into account, we closely work with the panchayat near our locality, and also we try to have a close relation with the panchayats throughout the districts. And what happens is that the basic rights, for example, a right to education, or the basic freedoms, etc., we try to have make them aware. And the first understanding of us was that maybe the students will have one approach is, now these are the rights and these are the freedoms that we are going to talk with them, but they will be they'll be surprised to know that these are not the things that they really want. The people whom they are talking to, the people to whom they have come to the camp, they really don't want that, but they want to know what are the basic land rights, what are the legal basic legal rights that they really want to, and how to get what applications do I need to move to get an Aadhaar, what applications do I need to sign up, how to sign up to get a ration card, and how to get the service from such and such governmental office. Now these are the questions that the participants always bombard the students, the volunteers who are working in the camp. So from this experience, the students learn that it is ideal to have an understanding with the local community before we arrange the camp. And what is convenient for us is not the convenience for the people out there. So Aadhaar card and driving license and ration cards and the basic salient features of the domestic violence and the POSCO Act is relevant to them. So have an understanding and then make them aware and with these rights. So if a person in the group wants to know about Aadhaar card, yes, go ahead and try to tell him that this is the way that you go about, and this is how this is how you can just move ahead in getting this particular documents done. And the thing is that we are there to serve the community and interact with the people and with the local authority, and try to be with them, create a trust with the people around us, be one of them, and so that help them out, and probably they will remember you throughout their life, and they will get back to you when there is a real problem, if at all they face in the society. So these are the quick experiences that I would like to share with this August gathering. And definitely from my point of view, the administrative hurdles are maybe there, but that doesn't that shouldn't be considered as a hurdle to move on, because research, it's very important, teaching is also extremely important, but extension activities that we do makes us create an identity in the society, because that is actually what the entire preamble stands for. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for discussing the practical difficulties institutions and legal aid clinics will face in realizing the goals of legal aid. Special thanks to sharing the experiences the difficulties that you faced in dealing with the situation of mortuary workers, ASHA workers, and with respect to Nilpa Samaram. With that, we'll move on to the second speaker for the second technical session. I invite Professor Rangeen Pallav Tripathi, Professor and Registrar at National Law University of Odisha. Professor Tripathi has been teaching at NLUO since 2010 and works in the area of constitutional governance, civil liberties, criminal law, and human rights. His current research focuses on the functioning of institutions within constitutional democracies and the way they affect realization of democratic rights. He was a Fulbright postdoctoral research scholar at Harvard Law School, where he researched on the competing methods of appointing judges in democracies. He has completed 2 research projects funded by the Department of Justice in the area of judicial reforms. He has also provided consultancy services to Odisha Judicial Academy for preparation of research materials for judicial officers. Welcome to the session, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Gayatri. And firstly, I thank Professor Sairam Bhatt for inviting me to this program and allowing me this opportunity to interact with students. I think it's a wonderful thing that CEERA is doing, and I hope it keeps doing it better and better, more and more in years ahead. Now, I understand there are many students here, so before I begin speaking, I would just like to take a quick poll kind of thing. Can the students just raise your hands if you watch this TV series called Suits? Anybody here watches Suits?
I'm very sure everybody here must have watched that series, sir.
Okay, so the hands are slowly rising. So are the comments, right? So I have been given to understand that, oh, I have seen Suits as well myself, right? But I have been given to understand that for all young law students, either aspiring to do law or who are already in law school, this is the go-to, TV series, right? And it shows a very glamorous lawyer doing really glamorous things, getting into negotiations with clients, walking into the court and just stealing the thunder and everything, right? And as I watched that show and many other shows about law and courtroom drama and about lawyers, one of the things which always struck me is the gap, the gap of mere seconds when somebody comes up with an idea and then somebody comes up with a document, right? In the show that takes around 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 30 seconds when you decide what you need to do and you have done it, right? Legal practice is rarely like that, right? What shows like this fail to capture is the literal hours and hours of hard work which goes into drafting of documents, vetting of documents, preparing for cases, speaking to clients who are not always as forthcoming, erudite, articulate as you see clients on TV to be, right? And the real legal practice, you go before a judge, you argue your case and a lot of that. But that's the ultimate thing which is happening, right? Just like it's for any sports, right? Finally, when you're going out and playing a match in a stadium, that's a culmination of all the practice, all the hard work that you have put in before. The same thing happens for legal practice. When you're finally going to the court, how you're going to do in court, more often than not, has been determined much more in advance about how you've spent your time outside the court. Starting with law school and even when you're in practice, your preparation leading up to your appearance in a courtroom holds much more importance, right, than you can imagine. And in my personal experience, having been an academic for more than a decade, the point of legal aid, apart from, as speakers before me have already explained, the kind of value it holds for the community, the kind of ethical reasons why you should do it, because it brings you much closer to the reality of what it takes to practice law than anything else can. No amount of lecture on criminal law, constitutional law, property law, corporate law, or any of that, no amount of substantive knowledge, right, can substitute for the insights you will gain about the unique and real challenges which are involved in just trying to get to the root of a problem that a person is facing, right? Nothing else can teach you what it is like to speak to a person who's crying, and who's crying so hard that it takes that person 15 minutes to even start uttering things which can make sense to you, right? Because these are not things that you can learn in the classroom. These are things that you can learn when you're doing legal aid and you walk into a prison and you're talking to a prisoner who has not got bail for more than 3 years, even though he should have been given bail, right? Or who has got bail but has not been released because he can't get sureties. You can get that sense when you speak to a migrant labor who has not been allowed to go back home for 6 months. The thing about legal aid and why I think it's extremely important, right, is that it takes you out of the bubble of a law school, because no matter what kind of law school it is, if it's a national law school, if it's a private law school, if it's a state law college, they're all bubbles in one sense or the other, right? Some are more protected bubbles, some are less, but they're all bubbles. And one thing that even I did not realize when I was a student, how protected your life is as a student, right? You're learning subjects, yes, but you are kind of shielded from the harsh realities of the profession that you're most likely to walk into, right? So legal aid is extremely important. As for me, it's essentially empowering, right? When I think of legal aid, for me, I think of legal aid as something empowering, not simply for the community that you're trying to help, the people that you're trying to help, but as individuals. It allows you that capacity to build that capacity to deal with the world better. You understand the world better. You understand the system better, right? Your expectations from the system are more rationalized. You realize that the world, the system is not running as it ought to, prescribed in a textbook, right? It runs on a logic and limitation and reality of its own. So something might be there in a law which says that this should be done, but actually getting it done, right? Actually getting it achieved, that's a whole different challenge altogether. So whenever I think of legal aid, for me, it's not something which should ever be extracurricular. It's not something which is something that some part of the students' community in a particular institution do above and beyond their academic engagement. For me, legal aid is an essential, fundamental part of curriculum as a law graduate. If you want to be a law graduate and if you have not done legal aid, that's going to leave a gaping hole in your capacity. That's going to leave it. And trust me, it doesn't have to do with whether you want to get into law firms or corporates or banks. It's not that if you want to do those things, you shouldn't do legal aid, that the skills are drastically different. No. If you want to be a law student, if you want to be a law graduate, and if you want to utilize that knowledge, utilize those 3 or 5 years that you have well for the rest of your life, right? Then not being involved in legal aid is something that you're truly missing out on. It's not something extracurricular. That's the first thing that I try to tell all my students here. That's the first thing that I'll try to tell all of you as well. Don't think of legal aid as something extra that you're doing. You have to understand that it's an essential part of your legal education. That your legal education, just the way your legal education would be incomplete, right? If you haven't studied contract law while you're in law school. Your legal education would be incomplete if you haven't studied constitutional law while you're in law school, right? Nobody can even take anybody seriously if you say that, okay, I have. So it's actually essentially impossible, right? That you're a law graduate and you did not have a course on contract law. You did not have a course on criminal law. You did not have a course on constitutional law. Legal aid is something like that. If you are a law graduate, having legal aid, having done legal aid, being involved in legal aid activities, in various dimensions of legal aid activities, you need to understand that this is a basic part of your legal education. You're training as a lawyer, and by lawyer, I'm not meaning advocates. Anybody who has knowledge of law, I'm meaning in that sense, is incomplete if you have not done legal aid, right? And why is it incomplete? So first thing I have already alluded to briefly, that you get to learn things that you can't learn anywhere else. There are some things that we learn only when we get into the situation, right? Nobody can teach you. As I said, for the first time I encountered a prisoner who's crying, right? No teacher of mine, nobody in my life could have told me what to do at that particular point of time, right? That's something you learn only when you face that situation and you realize, okay, this is something that can happen, right? There is nothing which will teach you. No simulation exercise in classrooms. See, because there are clinical papers where there are simulation exercises which happen in classrooms, right? You pretend to be a client, somebody pretends to be a lawyer, you pretend to be adversaries in a court trial. Those are make-believes, right? Legal aid, the most important thing about legal aid, that it is not make-believe. You're dealing with another human being who's actually struggling through life, who actually has a real issue. He's not pretending to have an issue, right? He actually has not seen his or her family.
I think there is a electricity failure at Rangeen's place. I think we'll just wait for a couple of minutes for him to join back.
So you're
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, I'm really so sorry. My connection froze up for a minute. So the first thing is that you get to learn things that you can't learn anywhere else, right? It's not make-believe, it's real. And dealing with real problems, dealing with real people who are traumatized, who are going through suffering, humanizes you in a way that nothing else can humanize you, right? It connects you to the world in a manner that nothing else can substitute for. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, what is it that you're learning? Right? I told you that you'll get to learn things that you can't learn from anywhere else. But what is it that you'll get to learn that you can't learn from anywhere else? Firstly, you learn to deal with people. You learn how not to overpromise. You learn how not to underpromise. You learn how to be assuring without being emotionally involved, right? Because the lawyer's interaction with somebody that the lawyer is trying to help, a person who has come to the lawyer for help, right? It's a very complex relationship, right? It's very problematic for you to become emotionally involved in the case. But trust me, all clients need assurances. They don't realize it, but they look for things which they might otherwise look for from a friend, right? But you can't be a friend. But they don't have anybody else, most surely, that they can share these things with, right? So that delicate balance of when you're interacting with people, when you're doing legal aid work, as I said, not to overpromise because you don't know if you can keep that promise, not to underpromise because you don't want to kind of, make the person extremely pessimistic about their chances in relation to the problems that they're facing, to be assuring without being emotionally involved. These are not things that can come to you one fine day. These are things that you acquire by doing them, right? You learn to choose your words more carefully. You realize that words have implications because these are not like friends that you're meeting every day that I said something today and by evening I can correct myself, right? Or I can text them back that, see, I told this to you in the morning, but I meant something different. No, it's not that you'll meet these people every day. So the interaction that you have, whether it is for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or half an hour, or 20 minutes, the value that you attach to those minutes, the value that you attach to the words that you speak. So you learn not to be frivolous with words. You learn not to be, casual with what you say. You learn to be extremely careful, and that care is required, right? And then when you actually try to help people through legal aid, you learn skills which are so vital to becoming a lawyer, right? For example, I gave the example of suits, right? I love these scenes which come in suits when, you'll see this small folder being flung at somebody. They will open it. It'll be a couple of pages of documents, and it takes them 5 seconds to figure out what the document is, right? And it takes them 10 seconds to get to the most problematic part of that document. Trust me, that's superhuman capacity, right? It doesn't happen like that. You learn that reading 4 pages document, 5 pages document, 10 pages documents, doing that requires patience, incredible patience, requires attention to detail, right? And that it's something which can be very, very boring. Learning to embrace that boring work as something which will eventually help you. It's something which will lead to brilliance in a courtroom. It will lead to an elegant solution, right? Something happened here. Am I visible?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. No, because something came up in the main screen. Okay. I lost my train of thought for a bit. I'm sorry. Yeah. So to embrace that boredom, because trust me, being a lawyer is not all glory and glamorous, right? The time that an average lawyer will spend before a judge in a given case, if you actually go to practice, if you actually go to courtrooms, it's a couple of minutes, right? Your admission hearings in a high court will typically last for a couple of minutes, not for half an hour, right? And if you're practicing in India, it doesn't happen that you go in the morning and you come back in the evening, and no, there is no time for that, right? So much of what you will achieve, much of what you will do happens in the preparatory work that you do. So you learn to draft things. You learn to tailor your drafting depending on the particular problem that a person is facing. You learn the limitation of templates. That there could be a template for a bail application, but that template still requires customization, right? That template will require certain things. You learn how to ensure that certain things are brought out prominently, right? You learn to hide mistakes, right? You learn to hide the weak points in your case, right? And all these are skills which are extremely important for a successful legal practice. You can't become a good lawyer if you don't know how to read, if you don't know how to do that supposedly boring job of reading through literally hundreds of pages of black and white documents and figuring out patterns, figuring out weaknesses, figuring out vulnerabilities, figuring out strengths, right? That requires you to understand it from your time as a law student. Because trust me, by the time you become a practitioner, by the time you graduate, challenges become very different. The pressures which come in when you start practicing, when you start doing something to earn a livelihood, right, become very different. The foundation you can learn while you're practicing, but it's very difficult to build a foundation while you're practicing. Legal aid in law school allows you to build that foundation. Once you have a strong foundation, you can keep building more and more on top of it, right? But legal aid, law education gives you that foundation. So, for example, what we have done at NLU Odisha, right? And we didn't do it from day one. It's not that we had this, thing from day one and we realized. We also learned slowly, right? So there was this UNDP project that one of my colleagues did, Sumandash Mishra, on legal aid and socially relevant legal education, access to justice for marginalized people and socially relevant legal education, where we established this legal aid clinics in 3 different districts of Odisha, and our legal aid committee, got involved in sourcing problems that people are facing in those communities and providing solution to those problems. And while we are implementing this project, we realized that this is not enough. We are only able to involve a very small community of people in the law school, right? Let's say 10% or 15%, right? In this very important work. And we realized that legal aid, as I said, it shouldn't be seen as something extra. It shouldn't be seen as something which is not a part of your core curriculum. So now what we have done since the last 7 to 8 years, since 2015, is that we have come out with this course on legal aid. Now it's a compulsory course for all law students in our university, where in that course, there is no written exam, right? And this entire course is about being part of legal aid activities. So we used to have different legal aid clinics, like prison legal aid clinic, legal aid clinic for land rights, legal aid clinic for juvenile justice, legal aid clinic for migrant labor. So a batch of 120 students or 180 students will be divided into different groups. So one group will make multiple visits to prisons in and around, which are accessible, right, from NLU Cuttack. They will conduct legal awareness camps. They will try to find out what problems prisoners are facing. And to the extent possible, try to solve those problems again by coming back and through our legal aid committee, by contacting the DLSA, by doing whatever it is possible. Same goes for juvenile justice, right? They will go visit shelter homes. They will go to JJB boards, attend hearings, interact with victims, interact with accused, and then try to find out whatever it is that they can do. And this has been made a part, as I said, of a compulsory curriculum, right? Every single law graduate from NLU Odisha must clear this course if they want to get a degree from National Law University Odisha, right? And over the years, we have faltered, obviously, right? One of the things that we realized, the reason I talked about over-promising, right? And this typically happens more in prisons than anywhere else. When you walk into a prison, when you start interacting with people and you start asking them what the problems they're facing, you're generating hope, right? And generating hope and then not fulfilling it is much more cruel than not generating hope at all. Right? So we learned that, okay, we have to be very clear about what all we can do and what all we cannot do, right, when we're interacting with them. So we learned not to overpromise, right? And promise only when we are sure that, yes, we have the capacity to follow up. So we realize that honesty, blunt, cold as it might be, is better than saying yes because the situation is awkward and you don't know how to say no, that I can't help you. It's better to say that very clearly, that I can't help you, than to just plant a hope in that person and then vanish, right? And so we have been running this program for 7 to 8 years now, and this year we have done something different, which honestly we didn't realize why it didn't strike us earlier. Instead of dividing these students into different groups, which used to become very taxing for faculty also, right? Because if you have 5 different groups of students, you need 5 different groups of faculty with expertise in those areas, and who will again go accompanying these field visits, guide students and everything. So this year what we have started doing is that all 180 students will go to prisons. So we expanded our reach in the same area instead of diffusing it into different areas, right? So we expanded the number of prisons we'll visit. We expanded the kind of interventions that we can plan. But all students, all 180 students will plan their visits to different prisons in Odisha, right? And try to provide legal aid, try to generate legal awareness. Because at times we have seen that even providing that material can be very empowering. Or at times even listening to people can be very empowering for them, that somebody is genuinely interested to listen to what they have to say, right? So this time we are going ahead with this, that we'll have only the prison legal aid thing. All 180 students will be dedicated for that, so that our efforts are much more concentrated in a single area, and we'll be able to track our results better. We'll be able to track our follow-ups better, right? I think I'll take a pause here, right? And I thank again Professor Sairam Bhatt for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to interact. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Ranjit.
so
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Over to
Thank you
you.
for underlining that legal aid is an essential part of legal education and not merely an extracurricular activity. With that, we come to an end to all of our technical sessions. Now we have Jay Batrika and Vikas Gailot from Team CEERA to take you through the guidelines of the competition and to clear any and all of your doubts regarding the competition. I hand over the session to you guys.
Before that, let me just take this opportunity to thank Professor Vismi Gopal Krishnan, Ranjit Tripathi, Professor B.S. Patil, and Ashok Patil, sir, for joining us. Thank you so much for extending your support to CEERA-NLSIU and also towards Professor V.S. Mallar Memorial Competition. And I think I'm sure the faculty and the students who are present in this workshop will take inspiration from your work and your contribution in legal academia. And we hope to collaborate with you in the future as well. Thank you for your precious time and thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that. So Vikas and I, we would be leading the Q&A session. Before we take up the questions, you can please put down your questions in the chat box. Before we deal with the individual questions, there are a few clarifications that we as the organizing committee would like to provide. So beginning with, since all of you have heard the technical sessions and the great knowledge that was imparted with regards to legal education, one thing, friends, please keep in mind that though this is a competition, but the purpose of the competition is legal service. Therefore, please focus on legal service and legal activity part. The competition will follow very smoothly in that regard. Further, we'll begin with a clarification as per the guidelines that we have provided. Most of you had clarifications with regards to the number of the core team members. So please note, there are 8 students who will be a part of the core team member, 1 student coordinator and 1 or 2 faculty coordinators. This would be a part of the core team, and we, the organizing committee, will be providing certificates to only these many members. Other members, if you want to engage in your activity, you are free to engage them, but you will have to give recognition and certificates from your institutes. That's the first. Second, with regards to dissemination of legal aid materials, we had shared in the WhatsApp group our poster book, our legal aid handbook, all of these. However, just after the webinar today, we will be mailing all these in PDF to all of you so that you can disseminate this when you go for your speed mentoring sessions to various schools, to meet the street vendors. You can tell them their rights, because there are posters on all these activities as well in our poster book that we have developed. Next, yes.
Second, friends, as has been said by Jay, that the strength of the core team is this. No, eight students, one faculty coordinator, and one student coordinator. Friends, some of you have asked us whether we can change the composition of this team. Once you have shared the list of this core team with us, can you change? Can one or two persons can be replaced from the team? The answer to that, friend, is yes, absolutely. You can change the few components, because we know that is a 4-month competition and not all of you will be there. Wow. But friends, please note, once the competition done, a final list of core team members to whom the certificates have to be issued have to be sent, and that should be the composition for the team. Jay.
Thank you, Vikas. With regards to these certificates, please note we will be sharing a final form for the certificate. So therefore, if the team composition is changing, we are absolutely fine with it, because we understand, as Vikas said, it's a 4-month-long competition. Next, with regard to are the core team members required to take part in all the 4 or 5 activities? No. It is fine if the core team members take part in 2 to 3 activities along with all the other members that you all recognize. Vikas, you want to add anything out here?
No.
Okay. Okay. Next is with regard to the speed mentoring. For the speed mentoring, some of you have shared the list of schools wherein you all will be going. We would be sharing a form as well, when you will upload the list of schools that you will be going. Now, many of you had queries as to what kind of legal aid topics should you disseminate in these schools. So one can be with regards to domestic violence, child safety, then with regards to elderly citizens' rights, what are the rights of children as per Article 21A, right to education. These are some of the basic topics that you can deal with. And we would suggest please target classes 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, 12, instead of going to lower classes, say class 1 or 2, because there was a query in this regard. So we would suggest please target the higher secondary classes so that the purpose of speed mentoring is served. Now, further with regards to Lok Adalat, many of you had queries as to if you can organize your own Lok Adalat. Please note that is not possible. You will have to assist the Lok Adalats in their proceedings and then finalize the report out of them. Then there was a query with regard to if there are no Lok Adalat proceeding being carried out, then we would suggest please coordinate with your district legal services authority and see in what way can you provide your support, because they will be disposing of cases on a particular day in a particular month, in a quarterly or a bi-monthly process. So please coordinate with them and you will be able to assist them. Vikas, you want to add anything out here? Okay. So would you want to add anything with regards to Lok Adalat?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I hope some of our faculty coordinators are there in this workshop. I hope faculty members, if you're hearing to me, please remember that you must approach the district or state legal services authority well in advance. You must take a formal letter from your principal, dean, or vice chancellor. You must mention your eagerness to collaborate with them on 2 grounds. One, that of course, as a legal aid clinic, you should collaborate with the legal services authority, but more so under this competition, highlighting the fact that this competition is a time-bound competition, which means you should be able to collaborate with the legal services authority within the timeline specified in this competition. So it is in your interest that you approach them early. You tell them that you need to work on this competition before the timeline, and hence the collaboration must start immediately, and you must be able to do a significant work with them before the close of this competition. You may say that, sir, no, the Lok Adalat is going to happen in November or December or January. We will probably assess them, but can we include them in the report? No, you cannot. So your activity must happen between July and the deadline of submission of the report. And that should be the timeline within which your collaboration with the Legal Service Authority must take place. Now, please note the Lok Adalat or the Legal Service Authority may hold camps or the Lok Adalats beyond the headquarters of the District Legal Services Authority, which means they may do it in town or in municipal areas beyond the headquarters, which is also fine. So you can collaborate at the headquarters of the Legal Service Authority or even beyond it. So if they're holding this Lok Adalats, say on specified subjects, say on electricity disputes or on water disputes, and this is going to be held at a specified place, that can also be part of your activity with the Legal Services Authority. Not a problem. However, it should be done within these 4 months of this competition, and it should be included in the report along with adequate documentation as well. So that is something that I would like to emphasize on the collaboration that you are required to do with the Legal Services Authority. So to be honest, friends, some of you may express the issue that, maybe will the Legal Service Authority collaborate with us? The answer is an absolute yes. To convince it, you must say that this competition is under the Department of Justice project, Ministry of Law and Justice, Government of India. So the Legal Service Authority come under the same ministry. This project and this competition is in collaboration with the Department of Justice. So you will notice that you will not hear a negative answer. It is about just working out the date and the purpose of your collaboration with them. That's how you should look at it. Finally, the Lok Adalat or the Legal Service Authority activities may require a large number of students to take part. So you must, and that's why I'm addressing this to the faculty coordinators, you may require to take students beyond the numbers that are in this competition. They may require a large number of student volunteers to take part in those activities. In those circumstances, please be forthcoming with the number of volunteers from your organization. And don't say, no, we just have a team of 8 or 10. That's not, I think, the purpose behind the same. So if they require more students, I think you must be able to gather those volunteers so that they can participate in this activity. Yeah. We can go to the next query.
Thank you, sir. Before we move on to the queries in the chat box, a few more things that we want to clarify. There was a query with regards to NGO partnerships, and there was a query that whether associating with NCC or Scouts would equate to a NGO collaboration or a partnering. The answer is no. You need to associate yourself with an NGO. What kind of activities? Now, there are NGOs who are working for elderly citizens. There are NGOs who are working for say child rights. There are NGOs working for women rights. So please associate with them, see what kind of activities you can add on and how you can help them on the legal part, because NGOs generally are focused on the social side of it. You can bring in the legal side of it and assist them in their work. The point of NSS and NCC collaboration in this is that is an add-on that you can do in the non-profit partnering aspect that you have. So please find NGOs, and NGOs will be more than happy to take your collaboration in this regard as well. And as Sir said, you would require a large number of people for the NGO partnerships as well. So try to approach them well in advance and take all the necessary documentation, whatever you require. So I think you would want to add something.
Yes. See, you may have an Eco Club, a NSS unit, a NCC unit, or a Scouts unit in your institution. So the Legal Aid Clinic, which is part of this competition, can definitely collaborate with all of these clubs or Scout or NCC units to do the NGO activity. But NSS, NCC are not NGOs for the purpose of this competition. So doing for them will not qualify for this competition. However, you want to go and work with an NGO along with the NSS unit, along with the NCC unit, you can probably continue to do that. That's not a problem, right? So I hope that clarification should help you.
Next is with regards to the prison visit. Now, many questions are there as to how many visits should you pay. One thing Professor Rangin Tripathi, when he addressed all of you, he said, generating hope when you go to prison and not adding on or staying or fulfilling that hope is not a very good thing. So we would suggest that we have suggested that you should go at least 8 times in a span of 4 months. But if required, if you get the requisite permissions, kindly take the permissions well in advance, so that you can go and interact with the convicts and the prisoners out there, see what kind of legal challenges they are facing, try to help them by bringing in the legal services authority out there, because every prison has a legal aid cell. It may be that in some prison, the legal aid cell is not functioning. So it is your job and your responsibility to ensure that the legal aid cell starts functioning. So this is upon you, and this is the kind of work that you are expected to do in the prisons. Now, with regards to the information sharing of the prisons, that is a confidential part of it, and many of you have said that you cannot share the same with us because even the prison authorities will not allow you to do the same. So we would suggest you bring in a report that is quantitative in number, how many people you could help with, that is number 1, what kind of legal representation they received, that's number 2, and what is the add-on benefit that you provided them. If you could help them with say pro bono lawyer who is helping them with their bail application at the sessions court or the high court, because the prisoners who are there in this prison, they don't even have the record of the wakalat or what is their bail number or if their appeal has been filed. So this is the place where you step in and help them with regards to the prison visit. And if you want, you can exceed the numbers of the prison visit, that is more than 8. Please don't stick it only to the numbers. It is for the purpose of legal aid that you're providing to the prisoners. So please see it from that regard solely. Vikas or Sir or Gayatri, if you want to add anything in this regard, please.
Yes, I would like to add over here that the prison visit is a very, very sensitive visit. My first condition would be, please, students cannot visit the prison without a faculty coordinator. I would like to very clearly state this. So the faculty coordinator is compulsory to escort students into the prison. 2, the faculty coordinator must brief the students about the expected behavior during the visit to the prison. 3, please visit the prison in adequate uniform if your college provides the same. 4, kindly read the prison manual during your visit, so you must know the do's and the don'ts. 5, I think the prison visit is not a visit. It is actually a study tour or a study visit. So you're not going there to just see, you're going there to learn. So please know the purpose of the prison visit. Yes, we understand that cell phones will not be allowed, laptops will not be allowed. Of course, you know why? Because that is there in the prison manual. Read it before you do it. We know that. At the same time, we want you to look at how the legal practice of students can be enhanced during this visit. And how do you do that? I think faculty colleagues here can be very creative in contributing to the legal practice or the skill or the knowledge of the students in the legal aid clinic. So you can use any of your creativity. However, what we are looking at is how best a clinic uses this visit in its learning process. That is what is the final outcome, and our evaluation points would be emphasized on what are the learning outcomes from the prison visit. Of course, it's a competition. We require some documentation, we require some numbers, we require some facts. That is how we'll be able to evaluate. It's not based on just merely your statements. So please appreciate that as jury members, our jury would like to evaluate whether what you said is truth or not, whether they're statements of fact or not. For that, documentation has to be submitted. But kindly be very, very careful about this visit. please note, there are institutions that have established permanent law clinics in the prison. There are, I repeat, there are institutions that have established permanent law clinics in the prison. And every year, students go there to interact with convicts, to speak with them, to know what the case is, to know the status of the case, to identify if there are any under trial prisoners who have not been given the right of representation, and thereby writing it to the Legal Services Authority to give that kind of an adequate representation so that under trial prisoners could actually get bail and not jail. Can you identify one such prisoner who requires access to justice? If you can do that, I would say our jury would actually find that to be a very important intervention for scores and for evaluation as well. Friends, please do not forget that the prison is probably a place that only will give you education. It will give you a life realization. It will give you a life-changing experience. Please follow the rules when you do that. It's as simple as that. Be very sensitive with how you interact, what you ask the convicts and the prisoners, as the case may be. The last point that I want to say about the prison visit is, I don't know how many students here know about the Legal Aid Defense Council. Today, the Legal Services Authority are recruiting lawyers or advocates anywhere between 0 to 3 years of experience as legal aid defense counsels. Friends, if you find that there is an accused who requires adequate defense before a court, you must probably approach the legal aid defense counsels. So please note, you go to the prison, you find out who needs legal aid, you come out, and then you connect that to the accused. So it's not just an interview of accused. No. Yes, you require interview to assess the problem, to know whether he requires any kind of legal aid or not. Some can afford legal aid, some cannot even get access to legal aid. So fulfill the mission called access to justice. Contact the Legal Services Authority. Tell them here is an accused who does not have legal representation or who has not had proper legal representation, and please allot him the Legal Aid Defense Counsel. The Legal Aid Defense Counsel probably will get the under trial out on bail, and even 1 or 2 success stories that you can narrate or bring about can be a game changer to the final report that you submit.
So just to add on, please do not put numbers that are not true in your reports, because we would very well verify. We understand it's a competition, but please understand, the way Sir said, it's a very sensitive issue with regards to the prison visits. Therefore, maintain the sanctity and the sensitiveness in this entire process. Next, with regards to the speed mentoring, we received queries as to why should we not go to private schools or international schools, and why should we focus to government schools? Well, the answer, friends, is very simple. Private schools and international schools, they almost have all the opportunities and all the amenities that are required for a student. Whereas government schools in India do not face that kind, or do not have such kind of amenities and opportunities. Therefore, the students who study there, it is our purpose and our responsibility, a little responsibility that we have shared through you. So therefore, visit government schools, schools that do not have adequate teachers, that do not have adequate administrators, and go and interact with the children, teach them about, or make them aware about their rights with regards to child abuse, child sexual harassment, right to education, child marriage, right for elderly citizens, then domestic violence, then right to compulsory education, midday meals. These are the things that you can do in speed mentoring. We would suggest you asking the numbers as to how many numbers. In the guidelines, it's given 3 to 5. You are open to go into double digits as well. And with regards to how do you shoot the videos in speed mentoring? Now, if you are visiting 10 schools, we don't want 1 hour videos of all the 10 schools. What we would require is the most captivating part of your entire speed mentoring process. because 3 or 4 of you will be going. One person can shoot the video for like 5 to 7 minutes, and all the speed mentoring, they can be collated and shared it with us. So we will be sharing a Google Drive form with all of you, and you can upload your videos out there. So kindly do not submit 1-hour videos of speed mentoring. Please submit and upload short clippets that can be useful for everyone, because we will be uploading this after reviewing on our YouTube channel so that the reach increases. So please make a note of that, because I think you want to add something. Yes.
Jay and the team, no, and all to all our participants. No, I will just like to take this opportunity to to say that, friends, we just got the hard copies of our 2 journals that were published. I just received them, so I would like to take this opportunity to share the same with you. Please, friends, you can access this journal from our websites also. They are available online. So just like take this opportunity to share the same. Yes, sir.
The
Please.
chat box, you can share the URL to the website.
Yes, sir, I will, sir.
Okay, so, I just wanted to say, I think this question is appearing so many times. What is the word limit in the chat box? I think those of you who are raising this question have not read the competition brochure at all. Friends, first thing first, a good lawyer actually reads his brief properly. Okay, so please read the competition brochure carefully and then raise your queries, please. This is an humble request to all of you. I think every team member should read it, and only then you should raise some of your queries. Otherwise, please don't raise it. Okay, most of these queries have already been addressed. For example, some of you have been insisting on the picture book that you want to use for the speed mentoring. Okay, again, 146 participants. How many of you have subscribed to our YouTube channel? YouTube channel on the chat box, please. One of you. Okay, how many of you have subscribed to our YouTube channel? Okay, there are only a few. 7, 8, 9, 10. Please, can you all subscribe to our YouTube channel? Even this workshop video will go to the YouTube channel. Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm seeing a lot of hands that are being raised. Can everyone subscribe, please? My humble request to all of you. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just go CEERA-NLSIU and subscribe. Friends, the picture book is there in the YouTube channel. It is there. Please see it. Okay. There are more than 100 videos there. Among them, the picture book is already there. Now, I would request Gayatri, my colleague, to send the picture book to the WhatsApp group as well. We will send it, no problem. But I'm just saying it's already there in our YouTube channel. Okay, so you can use that picture book in your speed mentoring if you require. You can take certain, see, we have done a digital version. You can take printouts of those picture book and paste it in the school in a place where it is a notice board to paste. Please don't paste it on the wall, on the gate and elsewhere. Let's not defecate the school, but you can use it. Some of you can actually take printouts of it in your regional language, preferably, because I believe speed mentoring is best done in regional languages. I don't think we should use English for speed mentoring, especially if you go to the higher secondary school. But our picture book is unfortunately only in English. So my request is you can convert it into the local language and please use this in the speed mentoring process. From the previous year's competition experience, ladies and gentlemen, please listen to me. People have found speed mentoring a very joyful contribution. We have received tremendous feedback on speed mentoring. People have enjoyed it. They've said this is the best part of the competition. We like doing it. We liked interacting with the young students, and this is the best part of the whole competition. So I think please use the picture book, because as Professor B.S. Patil was saying, when you see and do, I think you learn a lot, isn't it? So In the speed mentoring, you can actually play a game with them so that they can learn something. In the speed mentoring, you can give a small lecture. You can probably do a small skit or a play among the students so that they can learn. So you can be creative about how you want to disseminate the topics that are there for the speed mentoring process. So that is something that you can always look up to. Now, okay, so are there other queries?
So I'll start addressing a few queries that are there in the chat box. As Sir said, with the individual word limit for the entire report is 8,000. Now, if you ask us the individual word limit for each report, you can well bifurcate it. It can be 1,500 to 2,000 words. Now, there was a query with regards to what is the format of the report. Now, if you look at the guidelines, the format of the report is there. It is in a table-wise format. Now, the table-wise format will only take up the quantitative data. After that, you are free to use pie charts, graphs, and your own words to express your data in the most creative format. We would really, really appreciate the same. But yes, the quantitative data has to be there in the table that we have shared. Or we will share the competition guidelines once again with all of you if someone of you have missed it. So please don't worry about that. Next, with regards to speed mentoring, do we need
just
to
one
sessions?
second
Yes.
here. Friends, please also note, जो 8,000 words हैं, वो इस quantitative data से different है. This is quantitative data that will go as a texture to a report. The report of each activity that you have to describe in your words, what you have done, where do you went, all that is different from these annexure tables. To everything can come as that. Okay.
Thank you, Vikas.
All pictures, photographs, quantitative data, interviews, all that goes to the annexure. The 8,000 words is just for your description of what activities you have undertaken and what you would like to express as the outcome of the 4-month-long legal aid competition. Excellent, that's important.
With regards to speed mentoring, there's a query if you need to deal with all the topics that are mentioned in the guidelines. No, it's not required. You can add on additional topics from your end if you feel something is more relevant given the region you are in or given the city or the town you are in, and some topic is much more relevant, say drug abuse among teenagers, that is more relevant. So please have a speed mentoring with that regard. So you're free to choose your topics, but these are just indicative topics. And I think Vikas also has something to add. Please.
Friends, lots of you asked how many we should do. What should be the sufficient number? What is the minimum number? Friends, please note this. This is a competition. If you do a bare minimum number, your marking will be on a bare minimum number as well. The more you will do, the more marks you will get. It's like that. Please think it from that perspective. It's a competition. You have to compete. You have to do it. Nay, it is the bare minimum number. I will do 2 times more than that. I will do 3 times more than that. If a team does, so suppose we have 2 speed mentorings or 5 speed mentorings, a team does 8 or 10 speed mentorings, that team will definitely get more marks than the one who had just the bare minimum. So please take that into consideration as well. So, Jay.
Yeah, I think there is a major issue, I think, rather an apprehension that most of you think that permissions will not come. Be it the prison, be it the legal service authority, and be it the school. I think this is an unfound apprehension from your side. If you actually approach to contribute, I think these permissions are not a problem at all. So first thing first, I think students should not do this directly. They should always do it under the care and guidance of their faculty coordinators. Second, I think if it comes from the institutional letterhead, I think most of these permissions are granted, even for jail. I don't think, permissions are ever denied. It's about when you can visit. So, of course, there are days when you can visit and interact, and there are days that you cannot. Now, please note the Legal Services Authority is a very, very important facilitating agency in our access to justice mission. If you please go to the Legal Services Authority, please speak to the member secretary of the Legal Services Authority. They will definitely welcome you. First of all, they will say, we don't know whether your college existed. First time you have come, please welcome. Kya chai piyoge kya? So I think they are waiting for you. It is just about you approaching them. So I think if you have any difficulty about permissions, the Legal Services Authority will facilitate it. Because I have worked with almost all legal services authority, both state and national, and this campaign was launched under their direction and mission. So I don't think you should have any problems. Also, please know that in case you want to identify the best schools for your speed mentoring, you can take the guidance of the Legal Service Authority. That also is not a problem, right? But I would always say reach out to schools that are local so that you can connect with them and you can actually contribute to the understanding of legal literacy among high school students. So because they're the future, right? You don't want these students to be in conflict with law. So I think that would be a great contribution from your side. So law students, you will cherish speed mentoring if you identify the right topic and you can make the session an interesting and engaging one.
So I'll just add one point. Last year, the team who won, who secured the first position, they went to 28 schools. And it's not just the numbers of speed mentoring. They also ensured the quality in each of the 28 schools. So they had a huge number in which they bifurcated and they went to 28 schools. Now, we are not suggesting that you go to 28 schools, but you can get an idea and a hint from our side as to how you can conduct the activities because your law school has a lot of students. So please ensure that. There are questions about submissions. So please note all our submissions will be via a Google form, whether it is a simple questionnaire for the prison visits, the schools that you are visiting, everything will be via a Google form. If you have mailed us, we have replied back to you. I think none of your mails have not replied from our side, but please note all your submissions will only take place via a Google form that we will be sharing. Any mails that you send us because of any technical glitch or something, please intimate us and we would look to it that you submit it via a Google form. Because at times it becomes very difficult to keep a track of your submissions in email. And one more thing, we would want to use social media at max to address your queries. Therefore, for your queries, at times we miss out on emails on a few days given our work schedules. So therefore, we would request you to please use Twitter. You can tag us. We will put a Twitter handle in the chat box. Any queries that you have, in short words, you can ask, and we will reply you in the minimum short words we can, so that your queries are not unanswered for a very long time. So I will be putting the Twitter handle in the chat box out here. So please use social media as much as possible to disseminate information, to clarify information, and to go forward with this competition. And let's not use emails as a method of clarifications from our end. And you have our WhatsApp numbers, Gayatri, Vikas, and mine. Please feel free to reach out to us. If we do not respond immediately, please note that we will respond back within some time.
Just to
yes,
add over here, friends,
yes.
Jay has said, please, you can definitely contact us, reach out to us. Friends, so please note, don't contact at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 3:30 a.m. saying, sir, please reply, please respond. And friends, sometimes even if we can't, we don't respond to you, please wait for some time. Okay, because we might be discussing the same. What can be done in his case? So wait for some time before that. Yes.
Yeah, and finally, on the street vendors, I think there are a lot of challenges that you may want to face. Friends, what do you think? Why do we in this competition? Why have we thought about street vendors? Because I don't know. I think the CEERA team loves street food, maybe. And I think it's close to lunchtime. So I think we all have had food on the street. Now, the problem and the challenge is, friends, when we talk about legal aid, there are a lot of people who require legal assistance. What kind of legal assistance would they require? Now, do street vendors face harassment? Do they face violation of human rights? Now, I think, if you just answer this, I think you will know what to do in legal aid, right? So why are street vendors harassed? Maybe they don't have the license to do their business. Maybe they don't have a trade license. Maybe they have not registered as a street vendor. Maybe there is a problem of food contamination and hence an action has been taken against them, so on and so forth. So I think, I agree sometimes numbers matter in a competition, but I think quality, not quantity, would also be significant, isn't it? So maybe in your report, you will come up and say, sir, next to our college, there are 2 street vendors with whom we had our interaction. We helped them get all the requisite permissions and licenses, and we made their lives much better. And I think what now they have is they have very less harassment from the police or from any other agency. And I think we have transformed their lives as well. So I think that is the engagement that we expect you to do under this competition, right? And let me tell you, the street vendors can be next to your college, on a busy street, or anywhere else. I think the choice is yours. Maybe it depends upon the choice of food that your law clinic likes. But I think, the idea is to help street vendors do a more legitimate business, a more free, a non-discriminatory, non-harassment kind of life that they are entitled to under the Constitution of India. That is the purpose of this engagement. And I hope you'll appreciate the objective that we have while introducing this as a part of the competition. So please join us and help us make their lives better, both in the competitive spirit, but also in the spirit of Constitution as well.
So just want to add, friend, one of you also asked whether street play is compulsory for the street vendors. Friends, please note that it is not compulsory. We have specifically taken out the street play activity from our competition 1. In the first edition of the VS Mallar competition, we had a mandatory component on street play, but we have taken it out. It is not compulsory per se, but same again, friends, please note that it is being a competition. If some of you do take a street play activity, if you do something more than what what is just a bare minimum, there will be a better marks that you will get. So please take note of that. Moving to the next query.
Yeah. With regards to your submission deadlines, or the submission timeline, rather, we would say August 30th, 2023 is your submission 1. You have to upload your speed mentoring videos and report on street vendor engagement. Now, there are questions. Can we continue speed mentoring after this as well? So yes, you can, but a majority of your work should be completed within the competition timeline, since it is a competition. So please focus not only on the numbers, but also on delivering some kind of service to the people you are going to, whether it's school children, prisoners, street vendors. Now, what kind of questions, like we had received a query, what kind of questions can you ask the street vendors? You can simply start by asking their numbers, kahan se aaye hai, because generally you see the street vendors, they're not localites. There will be localites as well, but they are generally migrated from other states. Now, if they have migrated, they will definitely be facing challenges from the local police. The local police will come and try and, remove their business. So these are the kind of queries you can ask them in your questionnaire and see where you can step in to get them a registration under the Street Vendors Act. There is a Street Vendors Act as well. Please go through that act. It's a Street Vendors Act 2014. You can find the act on Google, read the act, see the provisions of the act, and see how and where you can contribute as per the sections of this act. And in a short snippet, street vendors is basically to ensure that you give them a more easy way to run their business, making their lives easier. Because if you have anything to add.
One of you have asked that whether the uniform is compulsory in all the activities of the competition. Friends, as a student, of a law, the uniform is something that you should find occasions to kahan main isko pehen sakta hu. That gives you a different feeling, that gives you a different impact also. So look for occasions when you wear, and not look for when it is compulsory to wear or not wear. One thing that when you go to the prison cell, the uniform is compulsory, the uniform is mandatory. But when you are performing other activities, it is not mandatory as such.
No,
but
even for the Lok Adalat and the legal.
Yes, sir. Even for the Lok Adalat, it is mandatory. But for street vendor activity, it is not as such. But friends, when you wear the uniform, the impact of the conversation will be different when you are not wearing the uniform. So that is up to you. We'll leave it to that. Next question is, sir, what about the volunteers which have taken part of the competition apart from the core team members? Friends, we have already answered this, that the volunteers will be given their certificate by their respective institutions. From our end, only the core team members will be given the certificates. Whether CEERA picture book material has to be distributed, is it compulsory? Friends, to answer this simple, it is not compulsory just to distribute our material. You can have your own material also. You can do some things. But friends, please note, this picture book is prepared in association by the Department of Justice. The competition is being held in association with the Department of Justice. So using such kind of material will have a better impact.
Because I'll just step in out here. There is a question with regards to documentary that needs to be submitted by the non-profit partnering department. Okay, if you are preparing a short film on your engagement with the NGO, it can be in the most easy way, if I have to put it, in the form of a vlog. What you did, what your activities were, where you stepped in. So you can just submit that.
Friends, one of you asked,
just one thing.
Go ahead.
There are requests for timeline extension. Please note, we will not be providing any extension of any kind. If you want, you can carry on your activity, but your report and your speed mentoring videos have to come by August 30th. And it's a rule for everyone. There is no exceptions. So it's a clause without an exception.
Friends, some of you asked, do we have to provide the details of each activity before you conduct the event? Friends, please note, it is not required that aap hame bata ke hi karo. You can do the activities on your own. From torrent, few are things which we have required, like the questionnaires that you are going to post to the prisoners. Something like this we have kept, it's a requirement, but not all are there. So we have submissions that you have to do, that will be sufficient. Any more? Okay, sir.
With regards to this question,
Yes,
that do we need to submit the table alone or with a separate report? Please note, all your quantitative data will form a part of the annexure. Your report is your words that you put to describe your entire activity. It can be in the form, you can use pie charts, graphs, whatever you want, but there needs to be a proper subject and proper words on how you describe your activity. And please note your document needs to be well formatted. We have shared the submission guidelines, but we will share it again with all of you. So please be calm with that regard. The important dates that you need to keep in mind is August 30th. That is your first submission, speed mentoring and report on the street vendor engagement. Please note you can carry on your activities, but you need to submit your videos and the report on street vendor engagement. Second is October 15th. That is your video recording of the non-profit partnering and report on the Lok Adalat engagement and report on the prison clinic. Please note you can carry further your activity, but please update us with regards to your activity, and therefore these timelines are given so that we can keep a track that all the 49 teams are at par with each other. Next is with regards to your online workshops that we are holding. These workshops are mandatory. We take an attendance. So you will need to come in all the conclaves because one, you get a technical session, you get experienced people to talk about legal aid, legal service, and their anecdotes that are always helpful and engaging. And second, we resolve your queries in person. Next submission is August 30th. That is your submission of your final report. Please note, we will not be giving you any extension beyond beyond October 30th, because we need to vet all your records, all your videos and everything. So we need time till October. So kindly to try not to seek an extension. I know it's tough being on your side as a student. We understand some unforeseen circumstances come up, but as an organizing committee, it is our request for the purpose and spirit of the competition, try not to take an extension because
Friends, also not some of you asked what should be the file size, what should be the duration and size of the videos. So if you want to add something.
No, I think there's no size to it, but I think it's you can be very creative how you want to do the same. So to be honest, people have in the previous year done a fantastic job. So we have enjoyed some of them. So we will upload them on the YouTube channel once the competition is over, of course, after seeking your consent. So just think that it is more in terms of dissemination that you're using, and you can you can use your own creativity over there.
So to add on to that, friends, also, friends, try to keep the size of the file as below 1 GB, because in the past year, in the last competition, we know many of the teams face difficulties in uploading a file size which are more than 1 GB. So please try to keep that. So we don't want you to face any difficulty and seek extension of time. Okay, sir, we were not able to upload the file because there now please give 1 day extension, 2 days extension to make it less in size. Okay, so please keep that in mind also.
Okay, before I think there will be queries that will be coming, no problem. I think we'll have one more workshop for the same, no problem. But let's conclude, friends, right? Let's look at the time and conclude the workshop as of now. Before we conclude, I know that a few faculty, colleagues and friends are online and they're joining this workshop. I just wanted to send an invitation to all the faculty. Can you think of recording a video for us on any subject of legal literacy and legal awareness? Please note, we are using this YouTube channel for larger dissemination across India. It could be in a local language. Please note, it could be in a regional language. It could be in English, on any topic that you think requires an outreach, requires dissemination, requires legal literacy. So if you see our YouTube channel, friends, we have very short videos, 15 to 20 minutes, where we speak about what your rights are, who should you approach, what should happen in case you need some legal assistance or legal aid. So again, I would like to reiterate that please join with us, please partner with us in this mission of access to justice. We are looking at collaborators who can collaborate with us and take this forward. So my humble request to all the faculty colleagues, all the students in this workshop is, please join us and record a video for us. We will arrange everything, but if you could assist us in putting out more material or disseminate more material to people and to the citizens, we would be really grateful to all of you, right? So please join us, reach out to us, and we look forward to your participation in our second workshop. And we wish everyone all the very best in this competition. Please take the spirit of the competition very seriously. We are very serious about this competition. Please do a sincere job, because you're not just doing it for what the competition offers you, you're doing it as a constitutional mandate. So considering all that, thank you very much for joining us, making this workshop a successful one today. Let me thank my team members, Vikas Gelot, Jay Patruka, Gayatri KK, Rohit and Gayatri Girish in their absence for making this workshop and making this competition possible. So let's sign off for the day, and with a hope and promise that we'll again meet for the second legal aid conclave that we plan. The date and the time will be shared with you very soon. Till then, goodbye. Thank you and have a great weekend. Bye, friends. Take care.
Thanks
so
everybody
much.
for joining.